There's nothing better than walking down a street full of gardens that are well maintained. Even better when the community gets together and builds neighbourliness as they do it. Hi, I'm Jono from Eat Grow Garden, and over the next few months I'll be making a few videos with tips and tricks to help you get your garden ready for summer. Over the last few months, we've looked at trees and shrubs and lawns, but we can't forget a really important part of the garden, the all-important veggie patch. Having a veggie patch at home, whether it's large and expansive or a few raised beds or just some pots in the corner with some herbs, is a great way to ensure that you're enjoying fresh, nutrient-dense, organic produce. And growing just a little bit of your own food ensures that what you're eating is super healthy. It also reduces plastic packaging and food miles, helping us to combat climate change and waste. The first and probably most important thing to look at when starting a veggie patch is sunlight and aspect. Most vegetables want as much sun as possible, and so finding a spot that's the sunniest in your yard, that's facing north, will give your vegetables the best chance of growing. Here, where this corn's growing, north is out that way, and so as the sun tracks across the sky, these guys get heaps of sun for much of the day. You also want to be looking for trees and structures which might block out some of the sun in some times of the year. Here, in this part of my garden, this fence is on the north side of the yard, which means in the middle of winter, this whole area right out to the lawn is sometimes in full shade. What I've decided to do is plant some plants that don't mind the shade for some of the year, and my deciduous fruit trees. When these fruit trees are dormant and they've dropped all their leaves and they're not producing fruit, that's when this part of the garden is in shade. And then when the leaves come out and they're trying to produce fruit, that's when it gets the most sun. And so these guys do quite well here. Compost is the best way to add nutrients to your soil. I use these tumblers and put in all of my kitchen scraps, 50% kitchen scraps and 50% some of this sugarcane mulch. They then give a turn, and after a while get this lovely, rich, earthy smelling compost, which is beautiful for the garden. At least once a year, I then add a good layer of rich organic compost, top up with some sugarcane mulch to mulch around the plants on top, and that is perfect for a vegetable garden. You know, some people think that just because you live in Melbourne, you don't need to put in a watering system for your garden. But for things like these plums, that couldn't be further from the truth. That's delicious. I often find novice gardeners underwater their garden. That's because certain plants like fruit trees actually only want one drink a week, and they want it to be 40, 50, 60 or more litres. A good rule of thumb is to remember that 1 litre of water on every square metre of your garden is the same as just 1 millimetre of rain. I don't know about you, but if my garden only got 1 millimetre of rain, I would be definitely putting the watering system on. But that doesn't mean you're stuck outside all day with a hose. Unless you really like the practice of going outside and hand watering your garden, you can use things like a tap timer to take the guesswork out of watering your garden. Here, my whole garden is set up on a few of these on taps around the yard. That way, they turn on when I want and turn off when I want, and I don't have to do any thinking at all. The last thing you want to do is to check out a seasonal planting guide. You want to make sure that what you want to grow can be grown where you are. Things like this sweet corn and these beans are perfect for the heat of summer. So are tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis, pumpkins, eggplants and more. Whereas things like broccoli, leafy greens, kale, they like the cooler weather of winter. But when you plant a variety of produce seasonally and you look after it by watering well, adding compost, you'll have a great source of fresh produce free of plastic that's nutrient dense. There's nothing better than your own food grown in your own garden.